Good morning, welcome back to Deer Corner. Great morning. Sitting over here in the corner waiting for the sun to come up to get a little bit of that sun. A little chilly this morning. I had the grandkids, wife and I did over the weekend, and we did a lot of walking in the woods, and boy, I'll tell you what, kids are different today. I was ready for why. Why this? Why that? But you know, they didn't say that. But I was ready for hearing it, because my kids, well, why? Well, why? Well, why? But anyway, we had a good time. But it didn't take them long to pick things up. They're smart. Kids are smart. And walk along and look down, and here's a squirrel track. Show them the squirrel track, the claws, the paws, the shape. Walk a little further, here's another squirrel track. Show them paws, claws. This is a raccoon and made it down to the creek. Well, this is a fox. And this is a coyote. This is another raccoon. And it didn't take them long, they were starting to call them out. And them two were arguing with each other what it was. One would say a squirrel, the other one would say a raccoon. But they got it figured out. Kids are pretty smart. And that brought me up to a topic I can bring up. That's about scouting and deer tracks. Now, deer tracks, there's a whole lot about deer tracks. I've been hunting deer for a long time, and you got people that can say, I could tell a buck from a doe by its track. And I have to disagree. I have some big does here. They may go 260 to 280. I got a pair of real big does. Got some 3.5 inch tracks. Big tracks. And a lot of people have mistaken them for bucks by their track. The only reason I know it wasn't a buck because I seen them. I seen her walk by. And actually telling a buck from a doe by its track, I just don't see it. Now, I could tell the size of a deer by its track. And not necessarily the impression it makes. It's by the stride it makes, by the step. Your younger yearlings, to a 2-year-old deer, step is about 2.5 to 3 feet. But a mature deer, a mature buck here, its step can run up to 4 feet. And that's what I look at. I look at the stride and the length of the step to tell what kind of deer, how old the deer is. And you have to look at them and figure that out. But here, it's the steps. I really can't say, hey, that's a buck or a doe by its tracks. I know a lot of people claim it, but I don't see it. Now, the other thing is I look for is rubs, deer rubs. I really don't care about the deer rub from last year. I come across the rub that was made last year. That does make a spark in me, but I really don't care. And the reason that is I like the areas that have one last year deer rub, but then I can look over and see another tree from the year before. Then I can look at another tree in the area and find another rub from a year before that. Or the rub on that tree's been previously rubbed a year before. That's deer rubs there. That means that buck is, or bucks, are still there. Now, you can find a deer rub and set up on it, but you don't see no buck. Well, maybe that buck's no longer with us. That's why there's no more rubs in that area. So, deer rubs and telling the story of a deer rub, that's how you find your bucks and how you hunt your deer. Another element I do is deer hair, and that's a funny one. I heard people go, what are you talking about? Well, deer hair, like every animal, loses its hair. Deer is no exception. Deer's hair will fall out as it's walking along. Now, it's spotting it, but once you figure out and once you start seeing it, it starts popping at you. Every time you see a deer hair, you notice it. That's the key. The key is getting yourself spotting it. It's kind of like a fisherman, you know, out there on spawning beds, got all miles of shoreline, but he finally spots this one bedding area out of all the shoreline that's holding fish. And that's basically the same thing, finding deer hair. But once you find it, then you can find a whole lot of things going on about them deer. You can tell when they've been through, how long ago, because deer hair, it don't last long. And what I mean by that, you can be walking down and that leaf is 2 foot off the ground and there's deer hair on it. But it won't be long till that deer hair is blown off that leaf and it's on the ground. Therefore, you know that deer's been through there previously. And you go back through the same area a couple weeks later and see more deer hair. Well, you got a deer coming up and down through there quite often. So deer hair is a key element. That's one thing I do use quite a bit. And but those are the things that I use. And now, not necessarily a deer, a buck. It isn't bigger the tree it's rubbing, bigger the buck. Now that's not necessarily true. Now I've seen big bucks rub small trees. I've seen small bucks rub big trees. It depends on what attitude that deer is in at the time on rubbing that tree. And I've also seen a small buck rub a tree and right behind him a bigger buck hit the same tree. So it's just leaving its mark. So, you know, deer rubs, yeah, you can hunt and find good locations off of deer rubs if you use it to your advantage. But yeah, I'm going to sit here, drink my coffee, and had a shot at a coyote a couple days ago. They come through these woods really quick. They don't stop. So you all have a good day. And if you're in the woods, be safe. Like I always say, rather be safe than sorry. Things do happen and can happen. And thanks for coming along.